Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Teresa. This is the third time that I have tried to film this gosh darn video. It is actually technically the 17th of March now because it's like 1 a.m. But I was finishing up my editing and I'm like, I just have to film this now while it's fresh in my mind so that I don't forget. So here's the deal. Like I said, had to film this. I tried to film this on March 1st. And then I tried to film it on March 2nd, and I thought on the 2nd, I'm like, I'm good to go. I was doing the editing. I've been working on the editing for a while. It's just been taking a long time because life. As I was editing, I was like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. There is just, I have to redo this video. But I've been trying to do this video for like 2 weeks now that I'm like, you know what, screw it. I'm not redoing the whole video. I'm just going to be redoing parts of the video. So what that means for this video is you're going to be getting like twofold things. You're going to be getting me like this now talking about certain things, and then you're going to be getting another clip of me in the past talking about certain things. So I've kind of gone through my past footage and spiced it to where I feel like that information that is there is good. And what I'm going to be doing with this footage is putting it in to like fill the gaps. I'm going to do my best to stitch this together in the most seamless way possible so that it's not crazy for you guys, because it could get way out of hand and weird. Hopefully it works out in a way that is understandable and it's not too jumbled, so I can just get this video online. Even if it is jumbled, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna post it because it needs to go up. It's like 3 weeks or 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I don't even know, overdue. It's holding up my other videos. So hopefully you make it to the end. In the month of February, I read 12 books. I did really good last month. Like in January, I read all ebooks except for one physical book, the rest were ebooks. And I totally did not even think about this until I was watching Rachel from BookBoop. I was watching her video and she has an iPad and she would just hold up the cover of the book on the iPad. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's brilliant. Because that saves so much time in editing, me having to like pop a little picture with the book, the cover of the book here. You just hold it up on my iPad. Why did I never think about this before? So yeah, as I said, all audiobooks except for the one physical book. And that one, again, like last month, was a library book. So I do not have a physical copy, but of course I will show you the cover picture. The first book I read in January is Ink and Sigil by Kevin Herney. This book is book 1 in the Ink and Sigil. As far as I know, it's a duology. He may be writing more books. I'm not positive. This is well, it says on here, it's from the world of the Iron Druid Chronicles. I do have a little bit of a speech impediment, so if you're having trouble understanding me or when I'm reading, I have trouble reading out loud. Like I can read it in my head, no problem. Reading out loud, sometimes my words get jumbled. So just like, okay. Alan McBarris is both blessed and cursed. He is blessed with an extraordinary white mustache, an appreciation for craft cocktail, and a most unique magical talent. He can cast spells with magically enhanced ink, and he uses his gifts to protect our world from the rogue minions of various pantheons, especially the Fae. But he is also cursed. Anyone who hears his voice will begin to feel an inexplicable hatred for Al, so he can only communicate through the written word or speech apps, and his apprentices keep dying in peculiar freak accidents. As his personal life crumbles around him, he devotes his life to his work, all the while trying to crack the secret of his curse. But when his latest apprentice, Gordy, turns up dead in his Glasgow flat, Al discovers evidence that Gordy was living a secret life of crime. Now Al is forced to play detective while avoiding actual detectives who are wondering why death seems to always follow Al. Investigating his apprentice's death will take him through Scotland's magical underworld, and he'll need the help of a mischievous hobgoblin if he is to survive. This book is funny. So it's an urban fantasy, and I gave this book a 4-star. As I said, it is a part of the world of the Iron Druid Chronicles. I didn't realize that until I started reading it, and I was like, oh shoot. You can technically read this book without reading the other series, but I wouldn't recommend it per se. While nothing is like spoiler, it definitely makes more sense, I think, if you read the other series. I am like book 4 or 5 into the 9-book series That is the I Am Druid Chronicles. I decided I'm going to finish out that series before I read book 2 in the Ink and Sigil series, because I don't want like any spoilers, like just in case. I don't want spoilers. So I listened to the audiobook. I actually really highly recommend that if you're going to read this author's works, listen to the audiobooks. The narrator that reads pretty much, as far as I can tell, all of the author's books is amazing. He's a very talented voice actor and he really brings to life the story. He also does different voices with the different characters, and I just think he does a really good job. So yeah, like I said, this book is very funny. It is serious. It does have some serious topics. It touches on things like grief and family issues and relations, but there's so much fun in this book that I think it's an enjoyable time. Like, you're reading this book and you're just having fun. So as mentioned, there is a hobgoblin. He is a character. So the hobgoblin basically has the personality of like a teenage, or the humor, I guess I should say, of a teenage boy. And some of the dialogue in here, it just makes me laugh so much because I'm like, it's so juvenile, like fart jokes kind of thing, but it's so funny. And I just crack up. I cracked it up. I'm trying to think if there's anything like particular that like stood out to me. I think it's just, I enjoy urban fantasy. And like I said, it does touch on heavy subjects. And it was really interesting to see how the author delved into that world and kind of made it work within the storyline. Like, he did a good job of kind of portraying all of the different aspects of life. So it was kind of like part detective story, part, you know, urban fantasy, part, I don't even know, but I really enjoyed this book a ton. And like I said, I gave it a 4-star. Okay, y'all, this next book got me heated, like so heated. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about this one. I'm gonna try and keep it short. So I'm gonna do probably a dedicated review on this book because I'm like, oh, but it's like supposed to make you mad, I think. It's Unlikable Characters. That is The Girls Are All So Nice Here by Lori Elizabeth Flynn. This book pissed me off so much, and I can't go into like much detail as to why because it's spoilery. But let's just say this is toxic female friendship at its worst, at its best. I don't even know, but it was like, these girls are evil. This is a shocking psychological thriller about ambition, toxic friendship, and deadly desire. A lot has changed in the years since Ambrosia Wellington graduated from college, and she's worked hard to create a new life for herself. But then an invitation to her 10-year reunion arrives in the mail, along with an anonymous note that reads, "We need to talk about what we did that night." It seems that the secrets of Ambrosia's past and the people she thought she'd left there aren't as buried as she believed. Amp can't stop fixating on what she did or who she did it with. Larger than life, Salone Sully Sullivan, Amp's former best friend who could make anyone do anything. At the reunion, Amp and Sully receive increasingly menacing messages, and it becomes clear that they're being pursued by someone who wants more than just the truth of what happened that first semester. This person wants revenge for what they did and damage they caused, the extent of which Am is now only fully understanding. And it was all because of the game they played to get a boy who belonged to someone else and the girl who paid the price. Alternating between the reunion and Am's freshman year, The Girls Are All So Nice Here is a shocking novel about the brutal lengths girls can go to get what they think they're owed, and what happens when games we play in college become matters of life and death. I rated this book a 4-star, and I think the main reason why I didn't rate it a 5-star was just because it had some things in it that I really didn't like. And you're not supposed to like it. It's definitely one of those books. It's like very, very unlikable characters, not necessarily a satisfying ending. Things are said and done in here that you're just like, ugh, you're bad. You're just bad people. And I could not give it a 5-star just because of some of the stuff that happened. I was just like, oh, I don't like it, even though you're not supposed to, you know. Anyways, definitely look up trigger warnings if you are going to read this book, if you have any triggers, because there is quite a few things in here. 100% there are triggers in this book for sure. And yeah, I don't know really what else to say. I'm going to do a dedicated review on it because it made me so angry. And again, I can't talk about why without spoiling the book. So be on the lookout for that if you're curious of like why this book upset me so much. But like in a good way, you know, like the author meant for it to be unsettling and not good. Okay. Let's move on. I didn't do this on purpose, but I read 3 books in January. I want to say February. I read 3 books in February that were all very, very similar. So that was one of them. The girls are also nice here. And the next one I read that kind of has similar vibes of like mystery in the past, mystery in the future, toxic girl friendships, bad people doing bad things. That would be the Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. This one is similar to the last book I read. And I totally didn't do this on purpose. And as I was reading it, I was like, oh my gosh, what are the odds that I'd pick up a book that's like very similar? 15 years ago, summer camper Emma Davis watched sleepily as her 3 cabin mates snuck out of their cabin in the dead of night. The last time she and anyone saw of them was Vivian closing the cabin door behind her, hushing Emma with a finger pressed to her lips. Now a rising star in NYC art scene, Emma turns her past into paintings. They catch the attention of Francesca Harris White, the socialite and wealthy owner of the very same Camp Nightingale. And when Francesca implores Emma to return to the camp as a painting counselor, Emma sees an opportunity to find closure and move on. Yet it is immediately clear that not all is right at Camp Nightingale. Already haunted by surfacing memories, Emma is suddenly plagued by a security camera pointed directly at her cabin, a mounting mistrust from Francesca, and most disturbing of all, cryptic clues Vivian apparently left behind about the camp's twisted origins. And as history begins to repeat itself and 3 girls go missing again, Emma must face threats from both man and nature in order to uncover all the buried secrets, including what really happened all those years ago. I rated this book a 4-star. Yeah, I did like it. I kind of got like one of the twists at the end, but the very, very ending totally shocked me. I totally did not see that coming. It was like, well played, Riley Sager. That was good. That was really good. It's definitely another one of those books like the one before where it's like lies, like we don't tell the truth or we omit the truth, right? We're not saying everything that really happened and nobody really knows what's going on and she kind of thinks she knows things, but yeah, it's just one of those. After that, I read Tricked, which is book 4 in the Iron Druid Chronicles, which I was talking about earlier. This is by Kevin Harney. I can't really tell you much about this specific book because it is book 4 in the series. There are 9 novels and then like a whole bunch of novellas. What I can tell you though is about the series in general. The Iron Druid Chronicles is actually quite entertaining. I really liked it. So what did I rate this? I think I gave this a 4-star. Yes, I also gave this book a 4-star. So this is an urban fantasy about a man named Atticus O'Sullivan, and he is the last living druid. He is like thousands of years old and he's the last of his kind. At this point, when you first meet him in the series, he owns like a curio shop where he owns like a whole bunch of magical books. Like some are like real magic and some are fake magic and teas and just kind of like that kind of thing. Like something you find in like downtown Portland where I live or something, or Seattle or whatever, you know. And he lives in Tempe, Arizona, I believe. Basically, he's a druid and he worships the gods of the Irish pantheon. Can't even think of any other names right now, but like the Irish gods and the Fae and all that kind of stuff. He deals with them. But there's creatures of all kinds. There's all types of different gods. So you meet like Jesus and Mother Mary. And then you'll meet like vampires and werewolves. And there's also like all of the Norse gods are real. And it's just like a whole bunch of different things. You have like the Native American gods like Coyote and stuff like that. So it's just this crazy mess of everything, which is another thing. So it's like all these magical creatures exist in this world. And he kind of gets wrapped up in this murder mystery and is trying to figure out what's going on. And as the series progresses, it's just kind of like him going on different adventures and doing different things that he gets kind of wrapped up in, whether it's by his will or not. Sometimes other people kind of wrap him up in their problems and he has to try and help them. The best thing about this series, though, is he has an animal companion. He has an Irish wolfhound whose name is Oberon, and he is like the comedic relief. He is so funny, and you just gotta think like, if a dog could talk, like, what would they say? And I think this author does a really good job at kind of like getting into the head of a dog. Because he's a druid, he has magic, and he has created a magical link between him and his dogs, like a telepathic link, so they can talk to each other. And Oberon is hilarious. Like, he's always like talking about like food and stuff, but he also loves to watch TV, and he loves to hear stories of like historical figures, and likes to pretend that he pretends like he's Genghis Khan, and he's also been like Alexander the Great and different things. And so he gets like really into these things. It's so funny. The narrator, Luke Daniels, that does the audiobooks, does his voice so well. And you can totally think like, okay, this would definitely be like how a dog would talk if you had a dog. Like, it's just the best thing ever. It's great. I just love them so much. So yeah, I read book 4. The next book I read after that was a little novella called 2 Ravens, 1 Crow, which is just another part of the series. The next book I read, and then I gave the novella like a 3-star. So that's kind of where I'm at on that. And then the other book was a 4-star. I don't know if I told you, but 4-star, 3-star. So far, pretty good reading month. Until this next book. So it's My Abandonment by Peter Rock. And this was a 2-star, guys. This was a 2-star. This started out really, really well. This started out, I was like, oh yeah, this could totally be like probably not a 5-star, but totally a 4-star, maybe even a 4.5-star. Yeah, it ended very, very badly for me. This book, the reason why this intrigued me so much is because it's actually based off of a true story that happened here in Portland, Oregon, about a father and daughter who were found living in Forest Park, which is a big park downtown. We had like this huge hill and in downtown Portland, like right in the middle of the city. It's this beautiful, beautiful foresty park. It's a big forest. The zoo's there, the Audubon Society is there, the Children's Museum is there, Forestry Center, Vietnam Memorial, Rose Garden, all like Japanese garden, all encompassing this area of Forest Park. And this is beautiful. I love it there. I actually used to walk dogs up there all the time. This book is based off of that. So this father and daughter were found living up there, and they'd been living there for years. Like, nobody knew they were there. They were just in like a cave living off the land, kind of. That is a true thing. That really happened. It was in the news and everything. I believe it happened like either before I was born or when I was really young, because I don't ever remember hearing about that story. But I looked it up and it like actually was a real thing on the news. They were found, they were taken in kind of by social services, helped them out, kind of got them back on their feet. The police officer who kind of worked with them was like, he didn't feel like they were doing anything bad, just the dad was just a little kind of reclusive and kind of off the grid kind of person. So he's like trying to help him out, get him a job. He ended up going out in Newburgh, which is kind of west of Portland, like on the way to the coast. And ended up, he like became like a farmhand or something. He like, the sheriff guy like had a friend and let him work there. So the dad and the daughter lived there for like a month or 2, I think, and then mysteriously disappeared. And whether or not they've ever been found again, I don't know. Like, there's really not much more about them. I don't know if their true identity was ever released to the public. I'm not sure. But like all the stuff that I just said, like that is real. That really happened in real life, which is crazy to me. This book is based off that. So it's basically following the girl's story from her perspective. It starts out awesome. I liked it. It was just her talking about how she's 13 years old and kind of very book smart, but kind of naive because she's only grown up. Really, she's lived here for like many, many years with her dad in the forest, hasn't really had much social interaction. And so she's more childlike. The author made it clear that there was never any inappropriateness between her and her dad. Like, that was not a thing, but it still weirded me out. And I don't know if it was just the way that the author wrote the book, but there were certain times where she was talking about like when they would sleep in their cave and like to stay warm and stuff, like they'd sleep really close together. And she was talking about how she'd like feel her dad's hairy legs like on hers. And it was like not inappropriate because there was no it'd be like a little kid, but because she was like a teenager, to me it just felt weird. I didn't like the vibe. But anyways, so you're going through, and then the police find them, and then once the police find them and kind of the journey after that, like what happened to them after that, it went way downhill for me. So like at first I was like, okay, this is totally believable. You know, they're living off grid, they're in the forest. It's cool because there's a lot of things that I recognize, like a lot of landmarks and things they talked about. I'm like, yeah, I know where that is because I live here and I've seen those places myself, you know, so that was fun. But once they kind of get found and are taken into police custody and go from there, things just got weird. Like the dad becomes uber paranoid and trying to like keep his daughter still sheltered, and she's super naive still, and it's weird. Like I don't know how to explain it. I just didn't like it. And as it's going on, it gets weirder and weirder. Like they end up like fleeing from this place that they were staying, like the real life father and daughter did, left without leaving any contact information. They did, but then it kind of goes from there and is like imagines what happened to them, and it just is weird. Like it gets super paranoia, super, I don't even know like how to describe it. I just did not like it. The writing style and everything just kind of changed, and I don't know what else to say. But yeah, I would say like the first half was great, but by the second half, I almost DNF'd this book. Like the only reason why I didn't DNF this book was because I'm like, I want to know how it ends. Like I have to know how it ends. I already put this much time into it. I'm just gonna freaking listen to it. The only reason why it wasn't a 1-star was because I liked the first bit of the book. So definitely do not recommend, which is unfortunate because it could have been really cool. And you know, based on a true story here, it was like, what? Crazy, but not good. Next book is another one of the books that I said that was very similar to All the Girls Are So Nice Here and Last Time I Lied, and that would be All Your Twisted Secrets by Diana Urban. This is again one of those bad things happened in the past and we're trying to figure it out in the future, and toxic friendships and all that kind of thing, and I give this a 3-star. Honestly, I don't know if I would have rated it higher if I hadn't just read 2 books that were just like this. Were very similar in the vibe and the storytelling. I'm just going to read a little bit of the blurb and then kind of talk about how I felt about it, and then we're just going to go from there. Welcome to dinner, and again, congratulations on being selected. Now you must do the select. What do the queen bee, the star athlete, the valedictorian, stoner, loner, and music geek all have in common? They were all invited to a scholarship dinner only to discover it's a trap. Someone has locked them in a room with a bomb, a syringe filled with poison, and a note saying they have an hour to pick someone to kill or else everyone dies. So yeah, it's kind of one of those. I thought it was okay. I definitely figured out the ending for sure. I didn't necessarily know the motive per se. So like that was still something that was like, okay, I'm pretty sure I know who done it, but I don't know why you would do this. The ending was okay. I kind of felt like it was a little sad, but a little bit like nothing mind-blowing to me, nothing that is going to really stick out in my memory. I mean, I remember this book because I just read it, but like it's not like something that's gonna like stick with me forever, right? Yeah, I don't know, it's YA, the other 2 were adult. So again, whether or not I rated this a 3-star because that's really what it is, or because I just read 2 books like this and was kind of sick of the story, I don't know. If you've ever read this book, kind of give me your opinions, what you guys think about it. I'd like to know, again, if this is something that is just kind of an average okay book, or if you guys really enjoy it. I think it's definitely probably like an entry-level thriller. So if you're kind of just wanting to get into thrillers, I would definitely say this book would be one that you could totally get into quite easily. The next book that I read is The Conductors, and this is by Nicole Glover. This book I read and I rated it a 4-star as well. So February was actually a fairly good reading month besides a couple of flops. Why is it that when I try to film the puppy, it's like if I turn the lights off, he'll go to sleep. If I turn the lights on, can you hear him right now? He's incessive. Oh my gosh. Dog, just go to bed. If you hear him chewing on the bone in the background, please just ignore it. He's being busy. I'm gonna let him do it. Okay, meet Hetty Rhodes, a former conductor on the Underground Railroad who now uses her magic to solve crimes in her community in a post-Civil War world. As an escaped slave, Hetty Rhodes helped dozens of people find their own freedom north using her wits and her magic. Now the Civil War is over, Hetty and her husband Benji still fight for their people by solving the murders and mysteries that the white authorities won't touch. When they discover one of their friends brutally murdered in an alley, Hetty and Benji mourn his loss by setting off to find answers, but the mystery of his death soon brings up more questions, more secrets, more hurt. To solve his death, they will not have to only face the ugly truths about the world, but the ones about each other. This book, I really did like the fact that this book has a lot of history. So it's kind of like a historical fiction, but with magic, and it's super fascinating. I thought it did really well. You have all these perspectives from different peoples. You have like freed slaves, escaped slaves, people who were born post-slave enslavement, I guess. You have white passing, you have people from all over, all different like sides of the community. The historical chunks in this book, I think the author did a very, very good job at adding it in and really bringing to life kind of what it would be like for those living post-Civil War, but you know, if there was magic. Now on to the only physical book that I read this month, and that's Small Spaces by Catherine Arden. This book, really fun. This one is a middle grade, kind of like a middle grade, is it considered a horror? Not sure if it's considered a horror or not, but definitely spooky book. This definitely gave me like Jeepers Creepers vibes. I loved it. I thought it was so much fun. This was another 4-star read for me. I think if I was like younger, like if I was like middle school age when I read this, I probably would have been really freaked out because it definitely was spooky. There were times that I was like, ew, that's a little creepy. Definitely not like anything that was like super scary to me, but it was good. It was fun. It kind of reminded me a little bit of like a fun, like a Disney scary movie or something. The next book I read is a book, it's the third book in a series, so I'm going to give you just a brief overview of what the series is about because I can't really talk about the third book without spoiling it. And that book is The Black Cat Sees His Shadow by Kay Finch. Yeah, by Kay Finch. So this is book 3 in the Bad Luck Cat Mysteries series. This book is a cozy mystery series, and it's about a woman named Sabrina who used to work for a lawyer and decided like, I'm done with this life. I don't want to live in the big city anymore. She moves in with her aunt in like this small little town in Texas. Her aunt owns a B&B, and Sabrina is an inspiring writer. And she's an aspiring mystery writer. So she moves to this town and she's like, okay, I'm going to write my novel and I'm gonna go here so I can write and get my novel done and turn it in and try and get it published. Well, she ends up meeting this cat that everyone in town calls the Bad Luck Cat because apparently it's a black cat and it seems like bad luck follows this cat everywhere. She ends up adopting this cat because she just can't stand the fact that people say this cat causes bad luck, because she's like, a cat can't cause bad luck. Nothing wrong with black cats. She names the cat Hitchcock, and Hitchcock definitely gets her into some things. The first book, she finds a body on the property, and it's kind of like this cat, it's super funny because it's like the cat like leads her different places, and it's always shows up in like the most awkward for her places that kind of get her into trouble. But at the same time, he kind of helps her solve the mysteries. It's super cute. I really like it. It totally reminds me of the TV show Murder, She Wrote, because you have a mystery writer who's also trying to solve mysteries. Small town vibes, the whole bit. Is a really cute book. Really good series. It's about a 3-star series for me. Again, nothing spectacular. Entertaining, but it's cozy mystery. I'm more of like a thriller type of person. But every now and then, you know, a little bit of a lighthearted fun is always nice. Next book I have to talk to you about is the next 5-star read of this year. So I have 2 5-star reads so far. I had one in January and one in February. And that's The Burning Girls by CJ Tudor. This is a hard 5-star for me. Oh my goodness. This book. One thing I will say with the audiobook, there's a couple times when it was a little bit difficult to differentiate between characters because the way that the narrator was doing their voices was very similar. That's nothing against the book itself. It was just the narration was a little bit, you're like, wait, who's talking? But I think if you're reading it physically, I don't think you would have been confused. An unconventional vicar must exorcise the dark past of a remote village haunted by death and disappearances in this explosive and unsettling thriller from the acclaimed author of The Chalkman. A dark history lingers in Chapelcroft. 500 years ago, Pentecost martyrs were betrayed, then burned. 30 years ago, 2 teenage girls disappeared without a trace. And a few weeks ago, the vicar at the local parish hanged himself in the nave of a church. Reverend Jack Brooks, a single parent with a 14-year-old daughter and a heavy conscience, arrives in the village hoping for a fresh start. Instead, Jack finds a town rife with conspiracies and secrets, and is greeted with a strange welcome package, an exorcism kit, and a note that warns, "But there is nothing covered up that will not be revealed, and hidden that will not be known." The more Jack and daughter Flo explore the town and get to know its strange denizens, like people, the deeper they are drawn into the age-old rifts, mysteries, and suspicions. And when Flo begins to see specters of girls ablaze, it becomes apparent there are ghosts here that refuse to be laid to rest. Uncovering the truth can be deadly in the village with a bloody past where everyone has something to hide and no one trusts an outsider. The way it was told was really interesting because it's told in both first person and third person. So there's 3 different perspectives throughout this book. You have Jack, which is first person. You have their daughter, which is third person. And then a mysterious dude, which is also third person. And actually, I think you flash back in time too to get the girls that went missing. You kind of get their story too. So it's definitely the same kind of thing where you're going back and forth in time, hearing different people's stories, kind of jumping around timelines, jumping to different people. But I think the author did a really good job at making everything like flow really nicely. I never really got confused on who was who. It all kind of went together. This book I felt it was very atmospheric. There were definitely times in this book where I have read similar scenes to what happened to some scenes that happened in this book, but they freaked me out in here, didn't freak me out in other books. So I was like reading this book, listening to it on audiobook, and I was laying on the couch and I'm literally sitting here like this, like, what? Oh my gosh, what's happening? Like, like trying to figure it out and being like, no, like, I think I know what's happening, but it doesn't make any sense because of this, and how is this, and like, I don't know. It was really, really good. 5-star. The ending, man, the ending got me good. I definitely was kind of able to piece out a couple things, but I think it was like the author was like allowing you to kind of figure out a few things, but not like the big thing. So you're like, oh yeah, I totally got this in the books. Like, I know what this is. I totally figured it out. And then no, you're like, wait, nope, that's not what, that's not what happened. Who, what? Yeah. It was really good. Really good. You got creepy small town, and this takes place in England, like in the countryside in a really little town, and it's small town vibes. You got creepy stuff, kind of like supernatural, but maybe not, but like what is really happening? Is someone messing with them? Are they not? You know, all that kind of stuff. Really just a really fun book. The next book, so this book is a nonfiction and it is called My Beloved Brontosaurus, On the Road with Old Bones, New Science, and and Our Favorite Dinosaur. This is by Brian Sidgwick, I think. And this is a nonfiction, and I didn't rate this book because I don't really rate my nonfictions that often. This is a book about dinosaurs, which I love dinosaurs. Huge dinosaur fan, always have been. I wanted to be a paleontologist when I was a kid. Love it. So the guy that wrote this book is kind of a dinosaur per se. I don't think he's a paleontologist. He's just someone that like really loves dinosaurs, and he works with a lot of paleontologists and does a lot of sciencey things. This was really good. I did enjoy this book, except for some parts, and I will tell you that's where I got ranty. It's basically kind of talking about how science's view of dinosaurs has changed since whenever it was when the dinosaur bones were like first discovered and coined dinosaurs to now. And we have definitely seen the way that dinosaurs have been portrayed change. The science has changed. They used to be considered these hulking behemoths that like had their tails dragging on the ground and like walked like, you know, whatever. Now they see, and I'm talking specifically about like sauropods, like long-necked dinosaurs. Now they're known to be like more upright, their tail's up and their head up, and all this stuff. Reason why it's called my beloved Brontosaurus is because the Brontosaurus is a dinosaur that was like beloved by many, many people. And at the time, it was supposed to have been the largest sauropod that ever lived. But now science says that like that dinosaur did never exist. It was actually a dinosaur of a different species that was just mislabeled, or it like happened to be like an adult and the other one was a juvenile, but they're the same dinosaur. Yeah, so it kind of talks about that. It goes along and just follows, like I said, the science, which is really good, really entertaining. I really liked it. The way that the story was told it wasn't dry. It was told kind of in this guy's perspective, not like in a lecture style, but more of just like his story and how he has learned these things and the different digs that he's been on. He goes into more of the science of it and kind of like how bones are excavated and how the scientists are discovering what species are what, and a lot of species they thought were two separate species turned out to be the same. They were just like one's a juvenile and one's an adult, or different things. And so things have been changing a lot within the dinosaur world with the new science and everything. So that was all fascinating. That I really, really enjoyed. I did learn some new things I didn't know before, so that was really fun. The part that really, really irritated me, okay, was the author threw in some of his own personal opinions that were just unnecessary. So, as you can imagine, talking about dinosaurs, we're talking evolution. Thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, right? That's kind of the general acceptance, at least in the Western world, of how the Earth was made and kind of how we became into being, right? Well, I personally am a creationist, and if you don't know what that is someone who believes in intelligent design. I believe that, in my case specifically, I believe that the God of the Bible created the Earth, and that the Earth is not as old as people would like you to believe. Hundreds of thousands instead of hundreds of millions years old. Now, before anyone goes like, oh my gosh, you're one of those, there is actually a lot of science. So I am very science-minded. I am very scientific. If I was not disabled, I would have a job in STEM, like in science. Biology is my thing. I'm obsessed with biology. I love learning about it. And so I don't believe this just blindly. There's a lot of research, a lot of science that backs up my beliefs. Now, obviously, there's a lot of science that people say with evolution that back up their beliefs too, but that just is what it is. And it's not just like Christians who are creationists. There are a lot of scientists. You don't hear about them much because their opinion is not as welcome because it's not evolution. You don't hear about them as much, but there are a lot who are agnostic and who are atheists, but are like, the evidence proves, the science proves that there is intelligent design. Who designed it, I don't know, but it proves it. Anyways, I feel like I have to justify myself because I feel like people are gonna be like, oh, you're one of those. And then also kind of like get to the point of why I was so upset with this is there is science that backs up my beliefs, okay? So there's quite a few times in this book where he literally says stuff that is completely like, well, obviously, you know, creation is stupid. Like, that didn't happen because of this. But the thing that made me upset, it wasn't that, because whatever, people have their own beliefs and can view the science, you know, the way that they view the science. And like, of course, the dinosaur book, of course, they're going to talk about evolution. Like, it is what it is. Doesn't bother me. What bothered me was the fact that he brought up these things basically saying like, oh, it's stupid if anyone would believe in creation, but there was no science behind his statements. It was literally his opinion, and there was no reason in the book. There's absolutely no reason to add that in there. It didn't add to the story. It wasn't a part of what he was teaching. It was just a random fact that he threw in. He did this multiple times. One of them was literally, well, this dinosaur is too weird looking. Like, it's a weird dinosaur. It shouldn't have ever existed. The proportions are weird, but it did exist. So obviously, an intelligent God, a perfect God, would not create something so unperfect, so weird. So obviously, creation is, there's no such thing as creation. This dinosaur evolved. And I was just like, excuse me? What? Like, first off, your thought process makes no sense. Like, it doesn't exist, yet it shouldn't exist, yet it does. So that obviously proves evolution. No, one. And two, who uses an argument like that? Like, there's no science behind that. It's just like, oh, it's a weird looking animal. So obviously God didn't create it. Therefore, there is no God and creation doesn't exist. It just bothered me. And the thing is, it wasn't like he just said this like one time. There were multiple incidents where, and it was like he was full on making fun of people who believe in creation. It wasn't just him being like, the science shows evolution, blah, blah, blah. It was like, ha, you guys are dumb because you believe this. Like, that was totally the vibe. And the audiobook was read by the author, so tone of voice, for sure. This guy was like making fun. And I was like, whatever, you know, I know that a lot of people don't believe the way I believe, and that's totally fine, but it was opinion based and there was no reason for it at all. If he was like, science says this, that is why I believe in evolution. That is why I believe that creation doesn't exist. That's completely different. I can respect that. But just throwing it in there for literally no reason at all to poke fun at somebody really irked me. Because this is something I'm super passionate about. Like, I'm super passionate about science and I'm super passionate about my beliefs and learning more about my beliefs and backing them up with fact, right? And it wasn't just during the book, that there was an afterword where he did like an interview with somebody, I don't know, but there was an interview, and there was even a point in the interview that he basically, out of nowhere, for no reason, like the interviewer didn't ask him a question that had anything to do with evolution or creation. He just brought it up and pretty much said like, whoa, yeah, like there's no God, like there's no creation, like duh. And I was like, bro, what are you trying to prove here? Like, what is the point of like ragging on these people for literally no reason? It just irritated me so much. And I'm sorry if that's like a petty thing. And like, I totally get it. Like, my belief system is very different than a lot of people. And that's okay. I accept that. What I can't accept is someone poking fun at what I believe for no reason, with no scientific fact backing it up, and just their opinion, and putting it in a book like it's fact. And I'm like, who does that? Like, back up your statements with some science, bro. Okay? Don't just sit here and be like, oh, it's funny looking, therefore there's no creation. It's obviously evolution. I was just like, what? Oh, okay. I'm sorry, guys. Like, I am so passionate about science that when people throw out crap like this without like, and he's supposed to be like a scientific book, right? Because it's nonfiction, and it's just his opinion, and it really irritated me. Sorry, I know. I told you I'm ranty. I'm ranty about this because, yeah, and it was like multiple times, like I said, and I was like, okay, once I can look over, be like, yeah, okay, whatever, dude. But then like, no reason, didn't do anything to the story, had nothing to do with anything he was talking about. That is how I felt, how I feel. Other than that, I think it was really good. I think the actual science that he talked about obviously was super interesting. The way that scientists are now learning about dinosaurs is super cool, and how it's grown and evolved. But like, seriously, like evolved over time. The science and everything of learning about these animals is super cool, and I was super interested in it. But that just really threw me off, and now I'm like, I can't even look at you. You totally ruined yourself by doing that, dude. Like, anyways, guys, I hope this video isn't too out of the left field and crazy. Tried to keep it short, but I read 12 books and I like to talk. So there you go. If you have finished this or got to the end, would you leave a dinosaur emoji down in the comments so that I know you listen to me rant? Even if you disagree with me, like, that's totally fine. Like, I know most people do. Like, it's fine. I don't care. I'm not mad at you. It was just something that just kind of got on my nerves, like in the moment. It just is what it is. Thank you so much for checking out my video. If you like this video, please do give me a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe, as I'm working real hard on getting more videos out to you guys sooner than later. And that was my February reads, my February wrap up. You can find my links to all my social medias down below. I'm trying to be more active on there as well, on like Instagram and stuff. So if you want to connect over there, go ahead and follow those links. Before I go, last thing that also really freaking annoyed me about the audiobook of My Beloved Brontosaurus, it has nothing to do with anything about the story. The guy would say crocodilians. The crocodilians. It's crocodilians, right? Crocodilians. Every time he was talking about crocodiles, he would say the crocodilians. And I'm like, bro, no. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. Sorry if, oh my gosh, my dog, you know, he wants to be in my business. So he's just here chewing on everything, making me move all around, move the camera. So if I'm all over the place, again, forgive me. I will hopefully see you all in my next video, which hopefully will be coming very, very soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye-bye.